Hey guys, welcome to another Raiders review. This time we're doing Immortals Fenyx Rising. Um, what can I really say? I actually really enjoyed this game. It was a very cautious surprise after some other games came out last year that weren't as great. But this game was quite surprisingly very good. You'll hear a lot of people compare it to Breath of the Wild and things like that, and it definitely took some of the architecture and some of the questing a little bit from Breath of the Wild, and it looks, more what you would call kiddish, cartoonish than your traditional game, especially a traditional Ubisoft game, which is much more about hyper-realism with the Assassin's Creed and the Watch Dogs series and all that stuff. They do hyper-realism more than they do kiddish, cell shading, cool looking. I like both styles as long as it's done well, and Immortals Fenyx Rising does it very well. I would say better than, most Nintendo kiddish looking games look a little too childish for my taste at times. This put that perfect middle between the two of it still looks a little cartoonish, but it looks badass. Like they definitely didn't shy away from dark colors and harsh tones and flames and fire, and they didn't shy away from any of those things. So, but everything they did was very rich and vibrant, so I like that. But as far as the gameplay and things, oh my god, like, they took everything that Breath of the Wild has done, they took everything Assassin's Creed has done, they mashed them together and then dialed them up to 11, in my opinion. The fighting, the combat was very reminiscent of Assassin's Creed, where you're, pushing in combos and everything else, but they added some flavor to it. They added that, jump up and flying, and you have these wings, so you can do aerial attacks, but you can also dodge and move very quickly. And then they add a bunch of god powers that make combat even more entertaining. I used Phosphor, who's basically your pet bird in this game. And then later they basically, he's he looks like a phoenix, and your name's Phoenix. It's a whole thing. You'll figure it out in the end. But they basically take his ability as he can strike out of nowhere and just freeze people for a few seconds and beat them and cause shockwaves. And then as you upgrade him, it gets even better. And I use that a lot, especially to distract larger enemies. So I could either deal with the smaller enemies, or I could, bash a larger enemy and not have him just hitting me constantly, which was really cool. It has a lot of those other mechanics like parry, and you have a sword, and you have an axe, and you have a bow. And it doesn't annoy you to the point where at times I was annoyed with other games that have degradation on weapons, where your weapon, after using a really good weapon a few times, it's broken, you have to go use something else again. I hate that mechanic. I get it, it's part of the game, you get used to it, but at times you're like, man, I just want my really good weapon to last more than a couple fights. And in this, you don't have to worry about that. They don't have that kind of mechanic. They had different styles of weapons. Each weapon gave you different abilities. As you upgraded that tree for that weapon, it gave you more options. They did a really good job mixing colors and palettes and different styles. So you had a bunch of different kinds of styles of clothing, weapons, whole 9 yards. You could say it's a little limited because it's just one piece of armor and one helmet. So you don't have like the bracers and the greaves and the pants and the whole 9 yards. You don't have all that, but that's okay, because I think what they did do really well. And then they gave you customization beyond that. You can customize, your pet bird. You can customize your mount. You can customize all these extra things. Customize your wings, and on top of all of those, anyone that gave you a stat bonus, you could also customize the look. So you didn't have to go for, the best stat equipment and then look like a hobo like we have in other games, especially recently. You can go for the best stat equipment and then change it to look like whatever you want, as long as you've opened up that item and that color customization for that item. And it definitely brings that good feeling of customization where I don't have to sacrifice skills to look the way I want to look in the game. And we changed our style a few times. We had a couple different outfits. I usually rock a blue and black style. It's kind of my color schemes with blue, black, and grays. But we did red and black for a while. We did purple for a while, which I normally don't do purple, but we had a really cool purple outfit. And then the cool thing is you can, make your whole outfit that, but then you can make your wings purple and your horse purple and your bird purple, and everything just kind of meshes together. You don't have to give up any of your stats, and that mechanic is always my favorite. I wish more games would do that. And I know a lot of games have, thousands of different kinds of skins, so it's very difficult to implement that mechanic, and it works a lot better when you only have, 50, 60 kinds of skins per item. But I wish more games would just understand that that's something we want, and let me get a cool statted item, but then make it look like something else that I like. So that was pretty cool. And it didn't let you color choice as much. Each item basically had like 4 different color variations. So you can, just pick, I want to make everything black or blue or whatever. But I think what they did very well. And I wasn't missing anything. I always found outfits I really liked. I always found stuff that looked really well together. I wasn't like, oh man, I still haven't found anything decent yet. So that was really cool. So the customization was top-notch in this game, but the gameplay was fun. The fighting was fun. Let's go on to the puzzles and mechanics. So much like other games that we've already mentioned, there are Tartarus pits in this game, and they're basically essentially puzzles. You jump in, you have this long puzzle. Some are arena-based and fighting, but some are like you have to use all your powers in unique and different ways to get through the puzzles. But they never felt repetitive to me. Like each one had a slight variation, a slight new thing, something that changed even just a little bit, where they added, a fan mechanic or a movement mechanic, or, taking things that you already have to move and put them in the right spots, but now it's on fire and you have to use it to get somewhere else. And like they always dialed it up just a little bit more. So when you expected to run into the same thing again, they changed it just slightly. And they definitely dialed it up with the god power. So there's certain dungeons, it doesn't handhold you. It basically lets you figure it out. It drops you in the dungeon. It shows you what to do, and it steps back. And there was a couple dungeons I sat there for a minute, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Because I never tried a mechanic before. So I was like, you know what? Let's try this mechanic and see what happens. And then I was like, oh my god, okay, this is how we do this. And I love that. I love letting me figure it out. Let me try some things, and we'll go from there. So I think like I said, it took a lot of pieces from a lot of different things. You even have Assassin's Creed, scouting, and where you have to climb it to a really high point and then scout the area, and that opens up the map. But then when you're there, you can actually zoom in and kind of like use a radar detection system to find all the treasure chests and all the points and all the puzzles, and that was really cool. And then even in the overworld, there were puzzles and challenges and things, so you were never bored, in my opinion. I never got where I'd spent a long time running from point A to point B and didn't find cool stuff in between. In fact, most of the time I got sidetracked, which I love in games. It made me want to do everything, and we did as much as we could in this game. The only couple trophies we didn't get were ones I wasn't really paying attention to until the end. And one is you have to like kill a bunch of enemies in Tartarus pits with the traps, and I'd already completed all the Tartarus pits without doing that. So there's no way for me to go back and do them again, because when I did a Tartarus pit, I did everything in the Tartarus pit and closed it up the first time through, or at least I tried. So I got all the chests and everything in the Tartarus pit and closed it up, and I couldn't go back in. So I didn't get that one. And then there's another one where you have to like hit an enemy in the air with a 25 combo with an air combo. And by the end of the game, when I realized that was the thing, I was so powerful, even the hardest flying enemies took less than 25 hits for me to kill them. So there's a couple little ones like that we didn't do, but we hit all the spots, we opened all the chests, we got all the customization and gear, and I'm already starting to work on the new DLC, so we might do another much shorter review for the new DLC, but the DLC's fun too. So, but for the main game, yeah, it was definitely a pleasant surprise. I always thought it was funny. I thought there was a reason to do what you were doing. You always ran into different little snippets of story with Zeus and Prometheus going back and forth, like changing the story up and telling you different things. It was creative, and it was well done. Like, I run into almost no glitches in this game at all. I think we bombed out and crashed on us one time in our 60-hour playthrough. And after just restarting to get back in, we were back to business, no problem. And I really enjoyed that. So I can thoroughly say that this game was quite a big surprise. We had a lot of fun with it. Like I said, I was very impressed. Like, I found it better. I think I had more fun than most of the recent Assassin's Creeds, and definitely, Breath of the Wild and other games like that. I felt that it gave you more. It gave you more story, it gave you more reason to play, and I like Greek mythology. It's why I actually played Odyssey and Stream Odyssey, but I played Odyssey for a good 70 or 80 hours. But there was times I got bored of that, because it literally was the same thing. There wasn't puzzles, there wasn't things. It was literally go here, fight this, go to the next thing. Even the side missions was fight more things, and, it just got a little repetitive at times. This, I didn't feel like that. The minute I got tired of fighting things, I would just go do some more puzzles. And then if I got tired of that kind of puzzle, I'd do a different kind of puzzle. They have like bow and arrow puzzles and little picture block puzzles and orb puzzles. And different kinds of stuff, and it made it really fun. And then when I got bored doing side stuff, we'd go do some more story stuff, find out more about the gods and the story and what's going on and who you are, and it was great. So I had a lot of fun. It was well worth it. It's well worth a buy on any system. I haven't personally tried it on the Switch, but it is available on the Switch. I don't know if it runs worse there. I can't imagine it's too bad because it is a little more cartoonish. The graphics aren't too intense, but it's beautiful. Their color schemes, the way they do things, you can just see on the main screen here with the sky and the birds, and it's because they didn't try to go for that hyper realism. They were able to do a lot more with color and blending, and they made it look much better than I expected. So, however, we're already running pretty long in this this review, and the short version is, if this looks even slightly like something you'll play from an RPG standpoint, from a platforming standpoint, from a puzzle standpoint, or a fighting standpoint, or any standpoint you think you might be interested, go get this game. Try it out. It was a lot more fun than I expected. It was well worth the money, and we even bought the Season Pass. We're already working on the first DLC, and there's a couple more to come. So it was well worth it. I do feel the need to add this one thing. There are financial transactions in this game, but you don't need them. They're just to add some customization options in look and feel. You don't need it. If you see something that's really cool looking that you absolutely can't have or can't not have in the game, you can buy it. However, you can also work with Hermes in the game at some point where he will unlock challenges to give you this special currency, basically, and you can use that currency with him to buy those same items. So we didn't do that. We didn't do any of his trials and time-based stuff because I didn't really feel I needed any of those extra items or extra colors, because it doesn't give you a stat bonus. It just gives you customization look bonus. Now, if you don't have a third-tier horse, the horse could give you a slight advantage. The mount could give you a slight advantage if you don't already have a third-tier horse or mount, because it has more stamina and everything else. But you can find 3-tier mounts in the game. Other than that, it's just a look for your bird. It's just a look for your armor and your weapons. That's it. The other thing I did want to mention in this game that I think a lot more games need to do is to max out your stats, to max out your character, to max out any of your abilities. You have to find a boatload of different kinds of materials and adamantium and all this stuff. But you can max out your character and all of your skills without collecting all of it in the game. However, I love that, by the way. But then you're like, oh, well, now I don't want to collect the rest of it because it's just going to go to waste. No, this game does a great job of when you're done and you've collected everything and you've collected your stat as high as it can go, or your abilities with Karen coins as high as it can go. At that point, when you unlock them all, it unlocks an extra piece that gives you more percentages to defense and to attack and to other things. And you can spend your excess coins on those percentages. So you don't feel like you waste. The only thing I found that I wasted was the yellow adamantium, which opens up potions and arrows. And when I was done getting all the potions and arrow upgrades, there's nothing to do with that color adamantium. But the blue and the red and the purple and the Karen coins and the lightning and the ambrosia, all of those unlock and open new abilities. Well, not new abilities, but new percentages for new skills. The ambrosia gave you defense. The stamina gave you a stamina consumption negative, so that way you could run and do things faster. I love that mechanic. I thought it was great. It gave you a reason to keep playing and want to find extra stuff. So this has gone on way too long. I'm sorry, guys, but this game had a lot of really good features that I think needed to be discussed and fleshed out. It had a lot of good mechanics that I feel other games should definitely adopt going forward, and it's got to be probably one of my favorite games of last year. So out of all the games we did last year, this has got to be one of my favorites. This is probably my top, like 2 or 3, if not my top number 1. So definitely well worth it. Go get it. I'm interested, and we're going to keep playing the DLCs, and as the DLCs come out, we'll play them again. So that's it for this one, guys. Sorry, it ran a little bit long. I got a little bit winded on this one, but there was just so many different pieces I want to compact. I liked it. It was a lot of fun. Go get it. If you're even slightly interested, just go get it. Don't watch a lot of spoilers. Don't listen to the story. The story's really good. Just go play it. Have a lot of fun. And, pay it at your pace. Do your things. You're going to like it. So thanks, everyone, for being here. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to stop by the Twitch channel. We do stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. We'd love to see you guys around. Catch you guys later. Bye.